Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
Your weekend is not complete without the First Lady of New York Radio. It's the Joan Hamburg Show. Talk Radio 77 WABC.
You know, there are so many amazing things about living in a great city like New York City, and they sort of they reveal themselves as time goes by. And I recently, with some friends, went to visit Four Freedoms Park. And it's all about the memorial, it is, to Franklin D. Roosevelt. It was quite fabulous. And so many people, when they had said, "What'd you do today?" I said, "I went to this park with friends." And like, where is this park? We don't even know about it. So I'm going to introduce you to the president of a treasure right in our own backyard, Sally Minard, and let her explain what this memorial is and how it all came about. Thank you for being with us, Sally.
Well, thank you, Joan, and I'm delighted to talk about the FDR Four Freedoms Park anytime. You know, it was supposed to happen in the 1970s, and Roosevelt Island was renamed by Governor Rockefeller. It was an island of crumbling institutions and hospitals, and he envisioned a residential utopian community right in the middle of the East River between Manhattan and Queens. And so he dedicated 4 acres at the southern tip, which was all landfill, for a memorial to FDR, because there actually was not yet a memorial to our president in New York State, which he was the governor of and then went on to be president of the country from. So he announced it, and he chose Louis Kahn, which was an iconic architect of the 20th century, to design it. But then a lot of things happened. He went to Washington to become the vice president, and Louis Kahn died, having finished his designs, and the city practically went bankrupt. So the project languished for decades, actually, until we revived it in the beginning of this century under the auspices of the Roosevelt Institute. And, well, it's a long construction story from then.
Right, I'm sure. But, you know, it was such an interesting experience, even for the simplicity of taking a picnic lunch on a nice day and sitting there, surrounded by all this and surrounded by the memorial and the history. And we're so full of treasures that so many people don't know about. And how did you get involved?
Well, actually, I was on the board of directors of the Roosevelt Institute, and the chairman, Ambassador William Vanden Heuvel, who'd kept the idea alive for the 35 years between when it was supposed to happen, he asked me if I would maybe come serve on this committee to see if we could get it done in this century. And so we started. It was definitely helped by the fact that Nathaniel Kahn did an Oscar-nominated documentary called My Architect about the plans, and the Cooper Union had an exhibit of Kahn's original drawings. And that caught the eye of a philanthropist in Chicago, whom none of us had heard of.
So amazing, right.
Yeah, $10 million is kind of a starting point. It was a great starting point. There were a lot of milestones that had to be met, and this was it's complicated to build anything in New York City, but it was a city and state private project. It was always going to be that partnership. So we began the prospect of raising a whole lot of money to see if we could get it built. And, of course, there was a recession going on, but Ambassador Vanden Heuvel and this small committee just kept going. And Frank Siami, who's a terrific contractor in the city, he worked on the Guggenheim, he worked on the Whitney. Anyway, he guided us and then became the general contractor and helped us understand that the way to get it built with public funds was to divide it into phases. So Kahn's concept was of a room at the base of the island and then a garden with 120 little leaf linden trees, and then a grand staircase to start the prospect. So we started from the base of the island, and for the first year, no one could see what was happening, even from the FDR Drive, because we had to build the foundation below sea level. So we had a cofferdam, which we had to pump out every day while the contractors laid these giant granite columns that were 10 feet tall and 6 feet square and weighed 36 tons. It was quite a miracle. It was the largest stone project. It's granite and trees, basically. The largest stone setting project ever in New York State. Well, it proceeded. And the exciting thing is we were able to open in the fall of 2012, and we were under budget and on time, which was also
extraordinary.
Pretty exciting. I know. And it's been an oasis in the city. It really, there's a power to Kahn designs. There are aspects of Egyptian construction and Roman and Greek construction, and it's designed in a way with promenades on the sides and then a big lawn down the middle, and then a beautiful bust of FDR by Joe Davidson that leads you to this room, which he had in mind would be for reflection and creative thinking. So we try to do our best there.
And you did. And we're going through, in this country, such a difficult time. And I love the fact that when you go to the park and you're surrounded by the vision and the thoughts and the story of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and we need heroes, and we need them more than ever right now. I mean,
we do.
Right? Even then, we thought that was one of the worst crises with what was going on in the world. And I remember my mother, she worshipped Roosevelt and felt that he was the great leader taking America out of the Depression, leading us to victory in World War II. And I can still remember them talking about him and crying when things were difficult. So you guys did something very special, and it's there always. And when you need to get a little sense of reassurance and that things are going to turn around and be all right, take yourself to the Four Freedoms Park. I can't believe how many people had not been there before, including me.
It's true. Most New Yorkers have not been. There never was really a reason to go there unless you happen to live there. But what's been so exciting about it, it's right across from the United Nations, which was part of Rockefeller's plan, since that was the brainchild of FDR. And back in 2014, when the Security Council was voting on whether or not to recognize Russia's takeover of Crimea, Carol Maloney, our congresswoman, staged a rally at the park with the UN building in the background. And, of course, we know how the vote went in the Security Council. The Russians vetoed it, so Crimea did become under the domination of Russia, and it's topical now. And then just a year ago, we also hosted a press conference to publicize the revolution of the women of Iran. And Hillary Clinton came and addressed it, and we had an art exhibit. So that's our new mission now, is really a curated public arts program that focuses on human rights. And I think it's going to be very exciting over the next few years as we address one issue or another. But all of these are related back to Franklin D. Roosevelt's Four Freedoms, which were what he announced in his State of the Union speech in 1941, when the country was isolationist and really not interested in what was going on in Europe. And he knew that we would be involved at some point. And so he issued those Four Freedoms as a guide and a value and something to aspire to help bring the country along to what they would have to do at some point to help end the war. Well, it's a site that has all kinds of possibilities, but it's also just a beautiful place to go and look at the city from a different vantage point.
Exactly. And it's a part of the city that, as you mentioned again, Sally, most people are not involved with, aware of. I mean, I remember we were thinking, there's a whole world here which we, sort of looking across the East River, you come to it from a different perspective. So it should be taken advantage.
Yeah, people do wonder, well, now how do you get to Roosevelt Island?
Because that's a good thing.
Consciousness. And so the answer is you can take a boat, because they now have ferry service. You can take the tram, which is the most fun thing, from
we loved it.
Second Avenue, right over to the island. You can take a bicycle. You can take the subway. The F train goes there too. So you can get there. Worth the trip. Cornell Tech has built a giant graduate school technology campus. So Louis Kahn died before he figured out where the restrooms or the offices would be, or the cafe. So now that we have Cornell Tech just north of the Four Freedoms Park, we've got all the amenities you could want. So, well, I strongly recommend visiting any time of the year. It's really quite extraordinary.
That's for sure. And you're going to see that. And people live there. That's what we heard some people saying, I can't believe this. I didn't even know it existed. Yeah. Because New Yorkers look out, but they have to come here.
Yeah, well, north of the 59th Street Bridge is a wonderful residential community, and there are new buildings going up now. And people love living there because, well, originally they didn't allow cars, but now, of course, they do. And then south of it is the Cornell Tech campus, and then FDR Four Freedoms Park at the southern tip.
It's a lot. Has the campus, the Cornell campus, made a big difference?
Well, it definitely has to us, because it's kind of embarrassing that our staff is in a construction trailer, nicely appointed, and we don't really have public restrooms or any cafe.
Yeah.
So this Cornell Tech capability has definitely extended the amenities that we can now say are associated with the Four Freedoms Park. They're great neighbors.
Which is terrific. And the more people that know about it, this is such a good time of year to come. Well, actually, any time is, but this is really nice. And the tram, it's only a few minutes ride, but it was like everyone on it became our buddy. Oh, what were you doing over here? And we said, we saw a production. You saw a theater? I said, yeah. And even I was surprised when we got there and went to see this amazing production right in our own backyard.
Yes. Well, we have all kinds of programming. We have dance programs. We were supposed to have a fabulous celebration of Hispanic. The month is
right. This is
Unfortunately, it rained on Saturday, so we're going to have to reschedule that. But there are all kinds of programming over there: dance and movies and music, and then programs and art that, as I say, references the Four Freedoms or human rights in general. So that's our new direction for art installations that we're very excited about. It's an opportunity to host all really worthwhile international and domestic issues.
I agree. And you leave your adventure with a feeling of optimism and pride, and we all need that right now.
Well, Joan, you're absolutely right, and I'm so happy that you discovered it and that you enjoyed it, and that I hope you'll come again.
Absolutely. And all the best to you, Sally. We'll check in on you and find out the latest update about one of New York's treasures.
Thank you so much, Joan. Really appreciate it.
My
Talk
pleasure.
To you again.
Bye-bye. I'm Joan Hamburg, and we're celebrating Four Freedoms Park, the memorial to Franklin D. Roosevelt. And this can be a nice adventure. All of you who call me, what can we do? Is there something new? Where should we go? Right here. And it's going to open up your eyes. So take advantage and enjoy. I'm Joan Hamburg, and you're listening to WABC.